maybe I'm wrong, but I think the greatest fractal starts with Azeroth. That's the way I see it. It starts with Azeroth, and the separation of the first part of the soul would be Argus. And if Azeroth did that herself, then fine, you know? Like a being splitting itself up, giving unto its, like, think about this. Azeroth is light and darkness, all of it. And then she's like, yeah, but you know, or maybe she's light. And then she's like, but I need some darkness. And so like from that is born darkness, or she removes darkness from herself and comes this secondary being. And now there's a relationship between these two beings, creation and light, and darkness and destruction. And now they're starting to kind of spin around each other. And maybe in some ways, these beings are not, I don't know, maybe they're not perfectly harmonious. Maybe because one is more kind of seen as antithetical in nature, our natural proclivity is to separate them and assume maybe they were in opposition. But maybe that wasn't the case. Maybe they were in harmony, and maybe that was the point. And it seems that perhaps those two forces then gave birth to other forces like life and death. And once you have those, now you're going to have new beings, because they're going to pull parts of themselves out and they're going to give it unto their creation. So then you have Argus, who's like making death stuff and like the realm of shadow and that kind of stuff, and he's tied to mortality and to mortals. And then you have Azeroth on the other side, who's you know, doing the dream stuff and creating life and the dream and that stuff. And then maybe from that came more entity. Like, basically what I'm saying is, like, you can start with a core single force, and like conceptually, and this is how it works in most creation mythos, usually that first being either sunders itself or creates something that causes a conflict, and those conflicts create other things. And from that, we have a bunch of different forces that are now intermingling and conflicting and not in harmony, and now everything's at war, and that's how things are. And until those links, like, one could call that the birth and expansion of the cosmos and the creation of all that is. But perhaps there's a fulcrum, so to speak, a balance, something to be tipped just in the other direction. Maybe it's a big circle, and we started at the start point on one point of the circle, and we have moved around it way far, and maybe about halfway around the circle, it starts to come back to itself, right? Almost like a parabola in mathematics, where you're looking at something's inevitable return, right? So if you look at something on a cosmic scale of like, this is the progenitor, from her was born everything, and out expanded the cosmos, then one might also take from that on the other end of the cycle, all of those things will be drawn back in. And so all of these conflicting forces, life and death, will find unity. Light and shadow will find unity. Order and chaos will find unity, hopefully, and they will find harmony. And that is how the soul of the cosmos is drawn back together. And that is how Azeroth awakens. Because, like Sylvanas, she cannot awaken if her soul is in conflict. So, given that all of this cosmic stuff, everything is just in this constant state of denial and conflict, the key to resolving this conflict is mortals. The mortal perspective in mortality is key, because, like I've said, we are not bound by the static denial that Eternals are, because they're only given a certain limited perspective or power string, so to speak. So mortals are important in helping to devise, or not even devise, helping to bring about the changes necessary in order for harmony to be found again. And so that's what the WorldSoul saga is all about. It'll start with the War Within, because they need to quickly establish the idea of internalized conflict, which has always been a thing in World of Warcraft. But they're doing it with Anduin, they've done it with Thrall, they've done it with Sylvanas, they're going to continue to do it. And this internalized conflict is going to be the start. It'll help people understand how internalizing your feelings and your frustrations and all that stuff can be very self-destructive, and how you can find methods to come to terms with that stuff, how to find inner peace, and how to control your emotions but not deny your emotions. And then it's going to move further into how those concepts apply to light and void, and how both sides are basically terrified of what the other side would bring, but understanding that we have to be able to set aside those fears, those uncertainties, in the ways that even the light and void cannot, because if we don't, then we're basically just going to infinitely try to destroy each other. And then in the last segment, it will probably maybe be order and chaos, will probably be like the final. I want to say light and void are, but I'm not so sure about that. I think it might be order and chaos coming up towards the end, because we've got life and death already with the tree and dragonflight. We've got the midnight plot coming up, which I think is probably going to bring about the hour of twilight, which is a time during which light and void meet. And is not, I don't think, at all what people assume that it's supposed to be. And then I would like to think that Order and Chaos with the ultimate return of the Titans could potentially be that final kind of thing that we kind of go against. And there too, we will have to find unity. We will have to find harmony. And only mortals are capable of doing this. This is why, like, the whole mortal storyline is like the most important thing. It just seems to be that, like, we're kind of the cosmic chosen ones in a sense to, like, find the answer. And it's poetic and it's beautiful, and this is a very common thing in fantasy. Tolkien hits on this, like, constantly. In terms of the mortals' capacity to accomplish things that the Eternals can't really comprehend. You know, the elves getting mega fucking sad, and that whole plot from Lord of the Rings is a good example of that. Really, all of the deities having to leave Middle Earth as a result of them spending too much time there and stuff. Isn't it odd that Sargeras has chains on him? No, it's not that odd, no. I think when you look at the artwork of Sargeras that predates his fall to corruption, Sargeras actually had more powerful bindings on him than even chains. I'd rather be bound in iron chains than perfectly woven silk bindings. I feel like I have a better chance of getting out of the chains than I do of the bindings, to be frank with you. Especially if those bindings are not so literal and they're more in my mind and have allowed me to believe that I'm doing the right thing, bound by virtue or an illusion of virtue, so to speak. And so I think that's what Sargeras is at most at risk of. It does appear in his demonic form, as it were, that those chains are broken and that he is potentially freed from the state in which he was, the state which he was in. And I think that, unfortunately, the imagery of Sargeras bound by the Titan Pantheon it doesn't have to be just an image of the past, and that's something I've said before, but this could also very well be an image of the future. Honestly, if we clear all of the pre-existing knowledge after the Anduin cinematic, it would seem that Azeroth is actual pure soul magic, the very fabric of souls, and the soul magic the world has is simple imitations. Thaumaturge is trying to interact with a certain magic. Well, I mean, I think at the end of the day, if you're not the supreme divine creator, you are probably nothing but a child with playthings in your hand, not really understanding what you're toiling with. And so I think, toiling in, I think that in a way you're right. I also think in a way it's expressed through willpower of human beings, specifically in World of Warcraft. You guys know that humans are the most innately gifted beings at wielding magic, right? Like, when it comes to mortal beings, that humans are, like, they surpass everybody, right? You guys know that. In fact, when the elves were fighting the trolls and they called upon the mages of the Kirin Tor to come and help them, the Kirin Tor absolutely fucking annihilated the trolls. Annihilated them. It wasn't even close. It wasn't even close. And the elves were pretty taken aback by the humans' natural, do I want to say proclivity? They have this natural ability to wield magics. Seemingly specifically arcane magic, light magic, that kind of stuff. And I think that a lot of that is willpower, as we've discussed. Willpower is also why the will of the Forsaken is their racial and why they haven't completely lost their fucking minds yet. Because the willpower of human beings, like, I think that the game is trying to make you as a human feel special. Because even if you don't play a human, I think the humans in World of Warcraft are like super important, but they've also done a good job at making the other races feel significantly more human. Like the orcs. Like, orcs are just green humans. It's stronger green humans. Doesn't that prove humans are more like Titans than anyone else, being so good at order/light magic? No, actually, I think it's the other way around. If you want to know the truth, I think it's the other way around. I think the Titans make themselves look like humans because they want to appeal to human beings, because they know that humans are the ones that they can use to bring about their ultimate plans. That's what I think. Or maybe their ultimate plans really are benevolent and I'm just being blinded, but because of the perspectives being provided. But, no, I think that they make themselves look like humans because they want to make humans trust them. Humans are good at all magic. Yeah, not just order and light. They're good at all magic. They're good at shamanistic magic. Humans are good at druidism. Humans are good at... I mean, Canrathad Ebonlock, if I'm not mistaken, Canrathad was a human. Am I mistaken? The Ebonlock family, weren't they humans? And he turned into a fucking demon. I'm also going to say, I think that the light is amassing a secret army. And I think that Varian Wrynn and Sourfang are part of it. Some people might not like that. But I think it'd be fucking cool in some ways if that, like, the champions of the light who have fallen and who were, like, retrieved by the light have, like, slowly, they've been forming this, like, secret legion of warriors of the light, dude. Dude, that would be fucking... I mean, we're talking about warriors. I mean, we're talking about Sargeras and Anshe, and we're talking about Sourfang, and we're talking about Varian. I mean, that'd be pretty... Broxagar, even, dude. Could you imagine if Sargeras kept Broxagar around? Oh my god. That'd be fucking crazy. Some of the greatest warriors ever of the mortal races. Ever. And, like, they come back for the final conflict. That'd be fucking sick. Humans are not good at monk magic? Yeah, they are. Humans are good at every magic. What if we are the first ones? We were ordered and given the gift of flesh? If we are the first ones? That'd be an interesting twist. I've fucked with that. That, like, the mortal races actually created the gods and it wasn't the other way around. Because the willpower and, like, magical nature of mortal beings and their inherent tie to the creator could have given them the ability to do so. I mean, to think that we are just watching the cycles and not really a part of them at all, I think is probably rather foolish. I think that we are probably part of the cycle. And to think that ancient primal races had technological advancements to the point where they could create maybe mechanical or energy-based constructs is not out of the question. I mean, I think we have some evidence of the Black Empire doing that anyway. So, you know, how do we know that these old ones didn't tap into Azeroth's power and thereby create even more gods? And maybe these... I mean, be interesting if the gods that we believe are supposed to be gods of order are actually gods of madness. Born by progenitor beings that we don't understand. Basically returning to jail their creators, which would be, I mean, I could fuck with that.